Morning, even afternoon. We got a banger for y'all today, baby. We got a video from Ornery Plays here. It's a YouTuber, and he made this video that's basically the entire history of Warzone metas. I'm gonna have his YouTube in the description. Be sure to go sub and watch all of his videos. This was very well done, and I enjoyed it a lot. This was quite the trip down memory lane. I hope you all do enjoy this as much as I did, and if you do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Most importantly, be sure to tell somebody you love them. I'll catch you in the next one. We got a cool one here, man.
Warzone 3 has now been with us for a little over a month, and we already have an established meta. This got me thinking about all the previous metas we've seen in Warzone. We've had some beloved, balanced, and very fun metas, and then there's the vile metas everyone hated. So today I wanted to share with you guys every single Warzone meta from launch to present day. A quick disclaimer, I'm not going to go through every single gun that was like in the meta. I'm more so breaking down eras of the game. That being
okay, I'm gonna try and call some of these out. Obviously DMR. I'm gonna call out FFAR. I'm gonna call out AMAX. I don't know if AMAX was really meta though. That was more like a preferred gun. Okay, hang on. DMR, FFAR. Those are two like iconic ones. I don't think the Car 98 was technically like a meta. Bruin, I'll call that one out. I think he'll call Bruin. I'm thinking Caldera. What was insane in Caldera? Cooper Carbine was pretty good for a while there. Obviously he showed snake shots. That's gonna be one that's in here. Doof R9. Call that. So let's see if those five are in here. I'm gonna stop there.
Being said, some guns are going to be missed, but I just wanted to talk about the guns that you had to be using if you wanted to compete. Starting with the launch of the game, where for the first couple of months of the game, we had the M4, the HDR and AX50 with thermal, the Grau 556, RPG, Car 98,
yes.
MP5. Pretty sure I've said it a million times on the channel, but when I think of the pandemic, I immediately think of Warzone, but more specifically, this state of the game. The M4 was a very dependable and forgiving gun that anyone could use, and to this day remains a viable choice. Then you had a few different choices for snipers, which we haven't seen in Warzone since. Mine and just about everyone's favorite was the Car 98K. It was so super good, quick, bro. Had little bullet drop off, and one shot to the head still.
This is one of those when you're living in the moment and you don't realize like you're living in like a core memory kind of moment. This very first Warzone was, you know what I mean? I kind of reflect on that sometimes, obviously with the pandemic going on and Warzone coming out. I feel like everyone was playing Warzone, myself included. There are certain guns in it, man, that's just like the Car 98. I pray when they bring Verdansk back later this year, we get it again. But
if tactical long range sniping was more your thing, you could use the HDR or AX50 with the thermal sight, which just seemed to be a laser.
And the Swiss, obviously.
Also, the body damage was insane, which allowed you to one-shot players who weren't even fully plated without a headshot. Then there was the Grau. I think everyone can agree that this was everyone's favorite meta AR.
I love this gun.
Throwing on the Archangel barrel, you have this beautiful iron sight that allowed you to forego any optic, enabling you to kit this out to be an absolute laser. Not to mention, it's still pretty damn good today. I've seen people make videos about using this in Warzone Pacific and still dominating. There's even a couple of weirdos who would run a double Grau class where they would have the one long range kitted out, but for your other one, you turn into a nutty SMG that somehow also worked. However, if you weren't an absolute psychopath, you would pair this with the MP.
Also, just for the record, if my camera blocks anyone, I'm sorry. Maybe Whips, you can try to move me, but I think like the way that the video is kind of edited, it's like going to be clips from a lot of different people.
Which would also be a viable option.
You're probably not going to see me because I'm not a Warzone meta guy.
But if you're no good piece of shit like me, you paired this with an RPG that made for a great close range substitute because the one-shot radius on this thing was broken. Not to mention the vehicle destruction was awesome. A quick honorable mention goes out to the snake shots. Although they were very broken and possibly the most broken version of a shotgun Warzone has ever seen, they weren't near as viable because this is before Rebirth Island or Resurgence in general had been released. And Verdansk being a long-range map, it wasn't near as common that you were super close like that in this state of the game. A couple of nerfs and patches.
I just want to say, even just seeing clips from Verdansk here makes me miss the game so much. This version, I still stand by it. This is the best Warzone we had. This one right here. And here's what I will say. There's new things they added in the current Warzone that could be applied to make Verdansk even better. The redeploys, the gulag tokens, the zips, stuff like that. All I feel like could be a great addition to it and make it incredible. But just this game overall, man, it was so good.
Later, and that brings you to the meta just before the Cold War integration, where we saw guns such as the Origin 12 shotgun,
I like the Origin too, bro.
The AS Val, the M13, the Kilo 141, and most notably the Bruin LMG. Not much to say about the shotguns other than they were pretty broken with the Dragon's Breath rounds, and honestly, just not fun to play against. The AS Val had this bug with this bullet penetration that allowed you to shoot through the entire map.
I remember I killed someone through rocks with that gun, bro.
And that is not an exaggeration.
Down one.
But even after they fixed the bullet penetration, it was still a really good gun. Honestly, was perfect to run with a sniper, specifically the Kar 98K, because it acted as like a SMG AR hybrid thing. Now I want to go ahead and lump the Kilo and the M13 together because they acted very similar to me. They were both very accurate but didn't deal the most damage, so you really had to hit your shots. A nice feature about the Kilo is that if you were an absolute sick bastard, you could throw on the monkey nuts on this John and treat it pretty much just like an LMG. But throughout all this chaos during the state of the game, the absolute most broken gun at the time was the Bruin. This was another one of those can't beat him, join him situations, since this gun was leaps and bounds ahead of everything else at the time. Nerfs eventually made this thing unusable, which I think everyone was happy with. Now we have the Cold War integration era, which is also about the same time when
I forgot about the
which not only changed how the game.
I forgot about God. What was that gun? The AUG. That one will be there for sure.
Added
the Mac 10.
Way too many weapons into the mix. However, right after Cold War came out, the dominant ones were the FFAR, the Akimbo Diamatis, the Mac 10, and most notably, the DMR. Aside from the FFAR, this may have been my least favorite state of the game. For starters, making all the Cold War guns meta is a shameless attempt to get people to buy the game, but aside from that, the DMR Mac 10 combo was
Look at that thing, bro.
The DMR could shoot as fast as you could finger blast the trigger, and the Mac 10 had no recoil, a lot of damage, and a massive magazine. Absolutely no reason to not use this SMG. However, if the Mac 10 didn't do it for you, you still had the Akimbo Diamatis, which were a 3-round burst killing machine. Insane accuracy, a decent mag size, and crazy damage.
I love these things, bro.
Very, very unfun to play.
Those were some of my favorite.
However, there was a little glimpse of light during this dark meta with the FFAR. This FAMAS-like AR was a laser that was also really good at close range and was a perfect gun to run with the sniper.
And you ran really fast with it.
Universally loved iron sight. This was another fan favorite gun, I think. Now that Cold War had been out for a couple months, a new update to Modern Warfare 2019 would bring in a brand new gun known as the AMAX. This dominated this state of the game, but there were still other viable options.
I think to this day, it's kind of a toss-up for me for my favorite AR between AMAX and like Kilo. I think if I had to pick one, I would pick Kilo. I think that was my favorite. A little less recoil and a larger magazine.
Options such as the Farah. We even had a short period of time where we saw a burst meta with the Cold War M16
or M16 and the AUG.
To round things off, another broken pistol, which pretty much uses an SMG because of its insane movement and its 80-round drum magazine known as the Psycom. Overall, not the worst meta since the AMAX was very good, but actually required some recoil control by the player, which made it a high-risk
MP5 was one of my favorites too.
And although the burst meta was broken and extremely annoying, it didn't last long since it got hit with nerfs pretty fast. Now we're at the time frame of about late spring of 2021 to the release of Vanguard, and here's where things get out
I forgot so much,
man. An absolute hodgepodge of
this is really well edited video, by the way. This is awesome.
Swiss K3, OTS 9.
Oh my God, I forgot about that gun. What was it called? That LMG? No, I messed up. I'm sorry, everyone. Vanguard, right?
Now we're at the time frame of about late spring of 2021 to the release of Vanguard, and here's where things get out of control with just an absolute
this LMG right here, bro. Right?
The MG
that.
G82, Swiss K3, OTS 9, the Bullfrog randomly, XM4, Krieg 6, Cold War AK-47, and Cold War MP5. Honestly, I would say there's only a few guns worth breaking down here. The first being the MG82, which had absolutely no recoil and a high capacity for its magazine. This made it a lot of fun to use and made big team wipes at range easier than ever. Then you had the Swiss K3, which was just as good, if not better, than the Kar 98.
I love this gun, bro.
A great substitute. It was honestly a lot of fun having two really good bolt-action marksman rifles.
Why did they get away from these snipers?
XM4, which I'm pretty sure remained relevant for the rest of the game.
Those snipers, the Kar 98 and the Swiss, please, Call of Duty. And if you agree with me, go to the comment section with me and tell me. All right. Bring back that style of sniping, the Swiss and Kar. Some people complain about it. I'm not one of those people. I think it is one of the funnest guns. It was one of the funnest guns to use, the Kar or the Swiss, bro.
Game's life cycle. It was pretty much
the Tundra wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong, right?
But just the Cold War version. Not much to say about this meta other than the Swiss K being introduced was the most important thing going on here. Now we have the Vanguard merge, which completely changed the entire game.
It's amazing how long I played this game. There's a coup.
Supported 10 attachments, and pretty much all of them were broken. I know a lot of people love this state of the game, but me personally, I could not stand it. The meta-defining guns at the time were the MP40, the Owen gun, the Bren LMG, the Cooper Carbine, the Well gun, the STG-44, and the PPSH. I kid you not, every gun on this list has zero recoil. Like I said, I personally started to take a backseat around this game because I just hated the Vanguard meta. Even though I owned the game game, I had absolutely no desire to play it to level up the guns. The MP40,
oh, the PPSH too, the hipfire one, that was so sick.
SMGs we've ever seen.
I didn't hate this one.
They all had insane TTKs, and specifically the Owen gun held its own at mid-range with a 72 round magazine.
Bro.
Then you have the Cooper, STG, and Bren, which again dominated every other gun from Cold War and Modern Warfare 2019. If you weren't using any of the guns listed above during this time, you simply had no chance. I know a lot of sweaty Resurgence players love this state of the game, but I simply could not get into it. Now we'll take like spring of 2022 all the way up into the launch of Modern Warfare 2, which is honestly the same story as the last meta. Saw another Vanguard circle jerk of guns that included the Type 100, the NZ41, the Mark 05, H4 Blixen, and UGMZ.
Blixen,
like I said, these were all meta and overpowered, but definitely
really
not near as toxic as the meta before this. Somewhere in this window,
the way the Blixen shot too was one of my favorite SMGs in this meta.
SMGs for a little bit and enable them more like mid to long range guns to have
that
some time in
stim
the spotlight.
outplay.
But around this time, like I said, this is about when I stopped playing the game or really caring, so I don't really have much to say about it other than this is when COD really started to go downhill. Which brings me to the launch of Warzone 2 in fall of 2022. The metas in Warzone 2 honestly only revolved around a couple of guns at a time. It never was like a super wide range.
How much slower the game looks in general.
Like at launch, we had the RPK, the Fennec, the TAC-V, and the TAC-V.
Like how much slower Warzone 2 was. It's crazy. They slowed everything down, bro.
The RPK and Fennec were dominating everything and were very easy to use. The TAC-V, I would argue, was much better, but just required a little more precision to use. TAC-56 was also very user-friendly, and I think everyone just loves the iron sights on this. Of all the guns in this meta, though, the Fennec was definitely the most broken. If you had any gun but the Fennec in a close range situation,
it just looks worse. I don't know if y'all agree with me. It looks worse than the first Warzone.
Once again, we had a very narrow window.
It's like everything's like
we had the RAL LMG, the Saiken LMG, the Hemlock AR, Vaznev SMG, and the Lockman sub. You can say what you want about Warzone 2, but I honestly love just about every meta this game had to offer. The RAL was a textbook definition of this gun takes skill to use. You control the recoil and you're going to do well, but most players could not do that because of how much recoil it had. Then you had the Hemlock, which was a very good AR, but only supported a 45 round magazine max to balance it out. Then the Lockman sub and Vaznev were both very fun to use, but even after nerfs, still remained viable throughout Warzone 2's entirety. Now, I'm just going to cover the rest of the game's life cycle, which to me, honestly, we didn't really see anything too crazy in the meta besides like two really standout guns to me. Starting off with the Cronin Squall, yet another one of my favorite metas because it was a high recoil damage gun that I think.
I also just want to say, I feel like the sights got uglier as well. Like, just look at the sights in Warzone 2 compared to the first Warzone. It's actually crazy.
Compare that with the ISO SMG and you were unstoppable. After a nerf to that, we saw the Lockman 5.56, which people were calling the Grau 2.0 because of its zero recoil build. Once that was nerfed, we kind of entered this weird state of the game where you could really use anything, but I would say most people were using the Cast-Off 7.62, which was AKA the AK-47. I really couldn't tell you exactly what the meta was from summer 22 all the way up until Warzone 3. So now that brings us to modern day where we're playing Warzone 3 on Urzikstan. And honestly, there's a lot of guns in the meta right now as we approach the Season 1 Reloaded update, which I'm sure is about to change. We're probably going to get some crazy nerfs here first, but these are the guns that we have right now. The MTZ Interceptor, Polymont LMG, BAS-B Battle Rifle, WSP Swarm, WSP-9, Striker, Ram 7, and the MTZ 7.62. With a lot to choose from right now, I think most would agree that the Interceptor, Polymont, and Swarm are at the forefront. The Interceptor has already
this was made before all those nerfs, obviously.
All they really changed was that it can't 2-tap anymore. Instead, it's a 3-tap, which is still ridiculous. The Swarm shreds at close range, and the Polymont has an insane mobility and accuracy with the conversion kit. However, the other two SMGs offer a little bit more options at mid-range, which I think are better with the Interceptor. And you also have the BAS-B, which has also seen a nerf already, but this thing is also still ridiculous. Maybe not at long range, but at mid to close, this also makes a great pair for the Interceptor or the Cat AMR, which I would also go ahead and throw in the meta since it's the only sniper that will guarantee one shot to the head, even without explosive ammo. Just a few honorable mentions I'd like to go over with is the snake shots, which I kid you not were only in the game for like 48 hours. Honestly, really crazy how fast Infinity Ward got these out of the game.
I will say one thing that I've noticed in Warzone 3. I do feel like issues get addressed a little faster. You think about Warzone 2 where there was stuff that was broken, and I feel like stuff just took a very long time to get addressed. And I will say
And
right
similarly,
now, it's
the Lockwood 300,
like if things are really bad, they nerf it pretty quick.
Warzone 2 state where the dual trigger has insane range and one taps also.
Tim, what about the texture mud glitch? Yeah, I guess that's real. I don't know. I take back what I said. I guess I mean broken guns.
But I really just wanted to highlight those meta-defining guns that were dominating the game at whatever time period it was. But let me know what your favorite meta was down below, or your least favorite. I know I'll probably put out a video of like my personal favorite and what the ones I hated the most as well. But if you liked, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you for watching.
Bro, this guy's videos are awesome. That was so well done. Ornery plays. I'm gonna sub to him, bro. Here, I just subbed to him. You guys should do the thing too, bro. Go sub. That was just a really well edited video. That was like, it was, you know, really well edited, kind of like a trip down memory lane a little bit. I like that, man. Well done. I might check out some more.